Part 87. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 861. I just turned my head and what I saw was a huge pig head. The pig's head was still placed quietly on the altar table, but its eyes were staring at me. The moment I laid the brick, the pig's head quickly averted its gaze. Logically speaking, a pig's head is a dead object and its eyes cannot move at all, let alone stare at people. There is only one reason for this situation. That is to ask people to observe every move of my door through the sacrifice. This feeling of being peeped on is really uncomfortable. At this moment, a melodious and harsh suana sound came from the air. The piercing suana sounds change in pitch and become extremely quiet, just like someone whispering or crying in your ear. Moreover, the sound of the suana is continuous, playing sad music. A towering gloomy energy erupted from a fishing village not far away. My expression changed slightly, and I protected the little girl behind me, staring closely in the direction of the fishing village. Then a red figure slowly walked out from around the corner. My pupils trembled slightly. It was a woman. The woman was wearing a bright red silk dress, a bright red head dress, waving a red handkerchief in her hand, a waist drum, and stilts that were 50 to 60 centimeters tall. The woman danced and twisted to the sound of drums and suanas, and slowly walked out from the corner. In addition, behind her were a group of people wearing bright clothes. The clothes of these people should be bright green, purple, or yellow. Moreover, each person's skin is as pale as marble, and he has a weird and scary smile on his face. Friends in the north should be familiar with this dance. This dance is called Yanko. The predecessor of Yanko is a singing activity performed by farmers when transplanting rice seedlings. It originated from agricultural production labor. Every year during spring plowing, dozens of women and children from farm families go to the fields to plant rice seedlings. One person beats a big drum, and as soon as the drum sounds, the group sings and sings incessantly all day long, which is called Yanga. I remember watching the Yanko dance when I was a child. It was during the Chinese New Year. In my hometown, every Chinese New Year, the Yanko team would be asked to perform door-to-door for a fee, just to create a lively atmosphere. When I was a kid, I thought it was fun to perform Yanko dance, and I would follow the team and dance around. At that time, my grandfather would smile from ear to ear when he saw my dancing posture. It can be regarded as a memory of my childhood, but now when I see the Yanko team in front of me, I realize that my childhood memories have turned into childhood shadows. There are about 70 or 80 people in a Yanko team. These people walked out of the village and surrounded us. Because the Yanko dance itself has elements of sacrifice, and it can be danced when offering sacrifices to the sea. I glanced at Su Tianxian and asked, "Master, what should we do?" Su Tianxian's expression was calm, and there was not much fluctuation in her eyes. She said calmly, "Calm down and wait until later." I nodded, knowing that my master wanted to find out the person behind it. The Yanko team formed a circle around us, waving their red handkerchiefs and brightly colored fans, which looked particularly strange. But at this moment, the little girl behind him suddenly exclaimed. This startled me. I quickly turned around and saw the little girl pointing at the woman in red who had just led the team and said, "Mom." Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 862. Mother. I was slightly startled and looked at the woman. Only then did I realize that the woman was not a ghost, but a human being, but her body was extremely yin-y. In addition, the other beings in the Yanko team were all ghosts. As a result, I did not realize that the woman was a living person. Su Tianxian's eyes were not on these ghosts, but on one direction in the village. At this moment, the Yanko ghosts around us suddenly attacked us. They were like ghosts and disappeared in an instant. I condensed my body and summoned the heart sword. At this moment, I felt the howling wind behind me, and I turned around sharply. A pale grimace came into my eyes. His face was pale and his cheeks were painted with bright red makeup, making him look particularly eerie. Jajaja. The fierce ghost let out bursts of sinister laughter, which made people's scalp numb. The corners of his mouth rose slightly, and the corners of his mouth cracked, slowly splitting toward the back of the ears. Then, he opened his bloody mouth and bit me. With a stern look on my face, I raised the heart sword in my hand and slashed at Li Gui's neck. It doesn't matter if you look ugly. He even came out to scare people. I originally thought that this sword would chop off Li Gui's head. But what I didn't expect was that the ghost figure disappeared instantly. This surprised me a little. I thought I was very fast when I drew my sword, but he still dodged it. Countless evil spirits attacked me, and I could only protect the little girl behind me while dealing with these evil spirits. But gradually I discovered that my attacks couldn't hurt them at all, because the speed of these ghosts was too fast. Just when I was in a stalemate with these evil spirits, Su Tianxuan's cold voice came to my ears. Xiao Su, use the evil suppressing seal to temporarily subdue them, and then find a way to eliminate them. I was slightly stunned. Why didn't I think of this method? I took out the evil suppressing seal from my pocket and threw it into the air. The golden inscriptions spread out from the bottom of the evil suppressing seal, and then suppressed all the evil ghosts under the golden inscriptions at an extremely fast speed. I looked at the little girl's mother and thought I'd better find a way to get the little girl's mother back to normal. The little girl's mother was obviously possessed by a ghost, and her body was filled with yin energy. Not only did she have to get rid of the evil spirit that possessed her, but she also had to help the little girl's mother expel the yin energy from her body. If yin energy accumulates in the human body for a long time, it will cause great trouble. Now that you have decided to help this little girl, a good person should do it to the end. Thinking of this, I activated the soul-stealing blood hand, and scarlet blood slowly spread out on my arm. I grabbed at the woman's body. The bloody hand penetrated the woman's body directly, and I instantly felt two souls. It is actually very easy to distinguish between these two souls, which one belongs to women and which one belongs to ghosts. The one who will become more powerful and cause the most serious damage is the evil spirit. Soon, I was able to tell the difference, my expression condensed, and I used my strength to grab the soul in my hand, and then I used force to pull out the soul directly. The evil ghost possessing the woman is a male ghost, short in stature and ugly in face. I asked Li Gui coldly, "Tell me. Who sent you here? Tell me, I can give you another chance to reincarnate. These evil spirits must be instigating someone, otherwise they wouldn't have found us by such a coincidence." The short male ghost looked frightened and hesitated to tell me the truth. After a fierce ideological struggle, the male ghost chose to compromise. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanba. Chapter 863. Just as the male ghost was about to speak, he saw his pupils dilate instantly and his eyes were filled with fear, as if he had seen something very terrifying. Immediately afterwards, the male ghost's eyes protruded and began to twitch violently. Seeing the male ghost's reaction, I instantly understood that someone was secretly manipulating him, hoping to make the male ghost's spirit disappear. Thinking of this, I quickly took action to stop him, but it was still a step too late. After the male ghost let out a miserable howl, his figure dissipated, and finally turned into dots of stars and disappeared into the air. The soul is gone. How powerful is the person hiding in the dark? It was actually possible to eliminate a fierce ghost without anyone noticing. The most important thing is that I didn't see him at all. Since the male ghost has been eliminated, there is no need to dwell too much on this matter. The person hiding in the secret will take action on me sooner or later, and as for the identity, I will know sooner or later. Thinking of this, I summoned the heavenly secret and drew a yin-removing talisman. Then use it on women. The yin qi on the woman slowly dissipated, and after a moment, she slowly opened her eyes. When the little girl saw her mother awake, she cried and threw herself into the woman's arms. The woman looked around blankly, her brows furrowed, as if she was recalling something. Su Tianqian stepped forward, took out a talisman from his pocket, and handed it to the woman. Take this talisman and keep facing south. No matter what sound you hear during this period, don't look back. You will not be safe until you are completely out of the village. At this time, the woman had already recalled what had just happened, and her face was full of horror. However, she did not yell, struggled to stand up, took the talisman from Su Tianxuan's hand, and then thanked Su Tianqian profusely. The little girl came to Su Tianqian and me and said in this milky voice, "Thank you, big brother, big sister." I smiled slightly and said, "You're welcome. You'd better get out of here as soon as possible. Letting them leave here is the wisest choice, because we don't know what will happen next. Moreover, these mother and daughter are just ordinary people. They will only be a hindrance and cannot be of any help." The woman looked again and again, and with lingering fear, she glanced at the ghosts around her who were controlled by the evil suppressing seal. Then he picked up the little girl and left in a hurry. As long as the woman doesn't look back, nothing should happen. Even if something happens, the talisman given by her master can keep the two of them safe. Looking at the disappearing figures of mother and daughter, I breathed a sigh of relief. Just when I was about to deal with these guys around me, Su Tianxuan's aura became fierce, and an extremely powerful sense of oppression spread from her body. She looked in one direction and said coldly, "Now that you're here, don't hide." Su Tianxuan's voice was not loud, but it was very powerful, causing fear to rise unconsciously in the hearts of those who listened. Su Tianqian had been staring in one direction just now. "I guess I'm looking for the person hiding in the dark." The only response to Su Tianqian was the roaring sea breeze. About a minute later, dull footsteps sounded in the darkness, and then I saw a figure slowly walking out of the darkness. That is a woman with a hot figure and a beautiful face, especially the charm between her eyebrows that can drive all men crazy. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 864. Moreover, the charm on the woman's face is much stronger than that of the Hu family I met before. The woman covered her mouth and smiled sweetly, giggle. "Sister Tianqian, long time no see." "Sister Tianqian?" I was slightly stunned. Could it be that the woman in front of me was a sister to my master? The next conversation between the two people proved that I was thinking too much. After Su Tianqian saw the woman, her eyebrows furrowed slightly, and a look of displeasure clearly appeared on her pretty face. "Yu Sun Tao, what do you want to do?" The woman named Yu Sun Tao shrugged slightly and said casually, "I have nothing to do and I missed you, so I came to see you. What other reason do I need?" Yu Sun Tao looked at Su Tianqian with a smile, her brows filled with flattery. The woman in front of her has a face that rivals that of Su Tianqian, but in comparison, Su Tianqian is still more stunning. The corners of Su Tianxuan's mouth raised slightly, revealing a sneer, and said, "Miss me? I think you want me to die." After hearing this, Yu Sun Tao stretched out her slender hand, covered her red lips, pretending to be surprised and dissatisfied, and said, "Sister Tianqian, why do you miss me so much? We grew up together, how could I harm you?" Woolen cloth. Su Tianqian seemed to have no patience to continue talking to Yu Sun Tao. She asked coldly, "Tell me, why did the Dao sect ask you to come?" Yu Sun Tao did not answer this question. Instead, she focused her eyes on me. She looked at me with a smile. It was the smile that made me tremble inside. Yu Sun Tao opened her red lips lightly and said slowly, "Sister Tianqian, is this the disciple you have accepted?" "Yes, He is quite handsome. I like him. He is my type. Yu Sun Tao's voice was charming and her eyes were ambiguous. These words were like a kitten scratching my heart, making me feel unbearably hot all over. Su Tianxuan's eyes froze, the momentum around him surged, and even the surrounding temperature suddenly dropped a few degrees. I'm warning you, don't hit his attention. Otherwise, don't blame me for ignoring our past friendship. Su Tianxuan's cold voice instantly brought me back to my senses. I was secretly shocked. Could this woman be practicing enchantment? Giggle. Yu Sun Tao covered her mouth and smiled, then looked at Su Tianxian. Okay. Sister Tianxian. I'm just teasing you, I'm not interested in your little apprentice. Yu Sun Tao changed her words and said, but, I never thought that you would be so interested in a man. Is it possible, that you want to have a forbidden love with this little disciple of yours? Su Tianxuan's tone became colder and colder, and she said word by word, if you dare to talk nonsense again, don't blame me for being rude. Yu Sun Tao waved his hands repeatedly and said, that's wrong. I was wrong. At this moment, I was very curious about the relationship between Yu Sun Tao and my master. Although my master's attitude towards Yu Sun Tao was very cold, I did not feel any murderous intention in my master. In other words, the woman in front of him is most likely not an enemy. Yu Sun Tao's expression suddenly became serious, and she said, you can't go to Penglai Fairy Island. Su Tianxian asked, why? Because the people from the Dao sect have already gone to Penglai Immortal Island one step ahead of you, and they will ambush you on the island. The cold expression on Su Tianxuan's face slowly dissipated, and he said calmly, it's just a Taoist sect, I haven't taken it seriously yet. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 865. Yu Sun Tao shook his head and said, this matter is not as simple as you think. The Taoist people asked me to come here to stop you. I can't really do anything to you, right? So, you'd better go back first. Yu Sun Tao advised. Su Tianxian looked at her quietly and said, you know me and my character. It is simply impossible for me to go back. Seeing that his persuasion didn't work, Yu Sun Tao sighed slightly and said, in that case, I will go with you so that we can take care of each other. Su Tianxian turned around and said lightly, whatever you want. She looked at the ghosts around her and said, stop controlling them and let them reincarnate as soon as possible. Yu Sun Tao came to Su Tianxian and replied, I did not control them. They lingered here after death and refused to be reincarnated. I just took advantage of them a little. From this sentence, I can tell that this ghost fishing village has nothing to do with Sun Tao. But it already exists here. Xiao Su. What's wrong, master? Send them away. I nodded, called out the gate of the underworld, and sent these ghosts directly into the underworld. When Yu Sun Tao saw me summoning the gate of the underworld, she was a little surprised and said, hey. I can't tell you are still an agent of the underworld. You're pretty good. I smiled at Yu Sun Tao and said nothing. After sending these evil ghosts to the underworld, I came to Taiping Fang, summoned the heart sword, and directly chopped off a corner of Taiping Fang. I picked up the piece of morgue and put it in my pocket. Master, let's go. Su Tianxian nodded slightly. When we were about to leave the village, I suddenly remembered something and asked, Master, what should we do with this fishing village? The fishing village in front of me does not really exist. In a sense, it is similar to the underworld. Su Tianxian thought for a moment and replied, let it continue to stay here. The evil ghosts in the village have been sent to the underworld by you. The village also lacks the support of yin qi. It won't be long before the village disappears completely. I nodded, it would be nice if I could disappear. We walked out of the village and came to the seaside. We stood on the shore and looked at the sea under the night. I looked at the time and saw that there were still 3 minutes left until early morning. I can't help but wonder, will the ghost ship really appear? At this moment, I suddenly recalled the water ghosts I had seen in the evening. I looked at Yu Sun Tao and asked, are those water ghosts on the bottom of the sea related to you? Yu Sun Tao was slightly stunned and asked, what water ghost? Obviously, Yu Sun Tao didn't know about underwater water ghosts. Since it wasn't Yu Sun Tao who did it, who could it be? Is it possible that there is another team of people watching me secretly? I told Yu Sun Tao what happened in the evening. After hearing this, Yu Sun Tao shook her head, saying that she didn't know. It seemed to me that Yu Sun Tao didn't look like he was lying, and I was a little more cautious about the trip to Penglai. We stood on the beach waiting for the ghost ship to arrive. Time passed slowly, and soon it was 12 o'clock in the morning. But nothing changed on the sea. 5 minutes later, heavy fog suddenly rose from the sea. The outline of a huge ship slowly emerged from the mist. I was slightly startled. I didn't expect that a ghost ship was actually needed. If my master was right, then this ship should be the one Su Fu was riding. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 866. Soon the ship emerged from the mist in full view. That's a building ship. The building ship is an ancient warship. It is named because the ship is tall and wide, and its appearance resembles a building. Because of its tall shipbuilding, it was suitable for both long-range and close combat, so it was the main force in ancient water warfare. However, because the ships are too high, their center of gravity is often unstable and they are not suitable for long-distance voyages. Therefore, most of them only serve as the main force in water battles on inland rivers and coastal areas. When Su Fu went to sea to seek medicine, he took a building boat. The building ship is not old, and is very large. If it is really the building ship that Su Fu went to sea, then it should have been damaged after wandering on the sea for thousands of years. The building ship in front of us, not only was not damaged, but it was damaged. It has a mysterious and ancient atmosphere and is magnificent. The building ship in front of me is a ghost ship. Ghost ships, also known as ghost ships and ghost ships, refer to ships that mysteriously disappeared or sank at sea many years ago. After many years, they were found sailing on the sea with no one on board. This already belongs to the category of ghosts. No one knows exactly why the ghost ship sails on the sea. Maybe I can find out clearly this time. Soon, the building boat came to us. The boat stopped outside the shallow water area. Su Tianqian and I looked at each other, and Su Tianqian nodded slightly. Then, the three of us walked towards the building boat, swam through the shallow water, and soon arrived under the building boat. I looked at the building ship that was more than 10 meters high, and I felt a little scared. How could I climb up there? At this time, I suddenly thought of Juyan Tianyu. Without any hesitation, I opened the Nine Eyes realm and grabbed the hands of Su Tianqian and Yu Sun Tao. Yu Sun Tao was stunned for a moment, then smiled sweetly and said, "You seem quite honest, but I didn't expect you to be so bad. You hold someone's hand in front of your master. Aren't you afraid that your master will be angry?" I rolled my eyes and said, "How about you climb up by yourself?" Yu Sun Tao pouted, pretending to be aggrieved and said, "Is it possible that you have a heart of stone? You are so cruel to let such a delicate beauty like me climb up by myself." Yu Sun Tao is a really evil woman. Her aggrieved tone and pitiful expression are enough to make a grown man drop all his guard. However, I understand the nature of this woman. If I fall in love with her once, I won't fall in love with her a second time. I was too lazy to talk nonsense with her, so I used the power of the Nine Eyes heavenly domain to disappear instantly. The moment it disappeared, I felt something scratched my ankle. When we appeared again, we were already on the building boat. Yu Suntao looked at me in surprise and asked, "What kind of ability do you have?" I smiled and said nothing. I came to the edge of the boat and looked toward the water. I frowned. I did feel something grabbing my ankle just now. Su Tianqian came to me and asked, "Xiao Su, what's wrong?" Just when I was about to tell Su Tianqian what had just happened, I saw the water surface churning, like boiling hot water. The next second, pale ghost faces emerged from the sea. Water ghost. Unexpectedly, my karmic fire did not completely eliminate those water ghosts, or is there an extremely large number of water ghosts in the sea area? Wait, what is that? My eyes suddenly noticed a very weird guy. That guy had a human face, but looked like an ape, with thick hair all over his body, and his appearance was extremely ugly. This is actually a water monkey. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 867. The water monkey is said to be a creature that lives in the water. Different places have different names. The most important places are called water lion ghosts, water ghoul ghosts, fallen ghoul ghosts, etc. Water monkeys are extremely powerful in the water. They will drag people into the water, and then cover the victims' orifices with mud, causing them to suffocate to death. There are even legends that water monkeys suck human blood and eat human nails and eyeballs. Fortunately, we got on the boat. It would have been very troublesome if it had been any later. But what happened next made me frown. I saw those water monkeys in the water actually grab the hull of the building boat, and then climbed up towards the boat at an extremely fast speed. Holy crap, I couldn't help but swear, didn't you say that this thing can't survive after leaving the water? Su Tianqian explained, it is true that water monkeys cannot survive without water, but within 10 minutes, they will not take any danger. In just 2 sentences, the water monkey had already climbed onto the splint. The water monkey is so fast. The first thing the water monkey did when he got on the deck was to open his bloody mouth and rush towards us. I quickly summoned my heart sword and struck at the water monkey closest to me. There was only a clang sound, and the heart sword struck the water monkey's body hard, but it did not cause any harm to him. This water monkey is not only powerful. The body is actually so hard. Swish, swish, swish. Numerous densely packed water monkeys emerged from the sea and landed delicately on the deck. I took a quick glance. The water monkey on the deck is not 80 but 100. The water monkey bared its teeth and claws at us, grinning, and rushed towards us. Their speed is extremely fast and cannot be caught by the naked eye. I can only rely on instinct to dodge. My brain was working rapidly, thinking of countermeasures to deal with the enemy. Suddenly, an idea flashed in my head, and I suddenly thought that water monkeys are born from water, and the 5 elements are in harmony with each other. I can use the earth talisman to control it, and then use the fire talisman to completely eliminate it. Earth overcomes water, because soil can waterproof, as the saying goes, when soldiers come, the water will be blocked and the soil will cover it up. As soon as this thought came to my mind, I stretched out my hand to cast the earth talisman. But at this moment, I felt an extremely powerful force burst out from behind me. I turned around and saw that Su Tianqian had already drawn a wooden talisman. She looked at me deeply, and I instantly understood what she meant. Unexpectedly, my master and I actually thought of going together. This is probably the tacit understanding we have developed by spending so many days together. Su Tianqian held the earth talisman in her hand. She gave a sweet shout and the earth talisman floated around. Immediately afterwards, the earth talisman was activated, and countless natives jumped out of thin air from the board of the boat and poured water into the air. Surrounded by monkeys. I just wanted to cast the fire talisman, but then I thought if I cast the fire talisman, would it burn down the entire ship? If the entire building is burned down, we will have no way to go to Penglay Island. I summoned Karma Fire, which is also fire, and its effect should be several times more powerful than the fire talisman. The main reason why I didn't apply Karma Fire just now is that water monkeys are too fast and their movements are extremely agile. If I build a wall of fire around us, they can easily get over it with their extremely high jumping ability. The karmic fire turned into the shape of a fire dragon and attacked the trapped water monkeys delicately. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 868. The raging fire of karma directly swallowed up those water monkeys. In an instant, the screams of water monkeys resounded throughout the night sky. The screams were pitiful and painful, and those who listened felt their scalp numb. Soon, the water monkey was burned up by the fire of karma, and in the end not even the dregs were left. After dealing with these sea monkeys, the crisis was temporarily relieved. As for the water ghosts beside the building ship, they naturally had nothing to fear because they did not dare to come up at all. I turned around and looked at the ancient building standing on the boat in the dark night. This building ship is very large. The ancient building on the ship has 6 floors, and it is easy to carry 5,000 to 6,000 people. At first glance, it looks like a small mountain peak floating on the water. It would be reasonable to say that this high-rise boat was really the one Su Fu took on the eastward journey. I looked at Su Tianxian and asked, "Master, what should we do next?" Su Tianxian looked at the calm sea and said slowly, wait for this building ship to start on its own." I was extremely confused and asked, "Master, how can the building boat move on its own? It is a normal thing for a building boat to drift along the current. But it's strange that this building ship can sail here very accurately." Su Tianxian looked at me and said, "Don't you feel the yin and resentment on this building?" I was slightly stunned. After getting on the boat, I was so troubled by the water monkeys that I did not carefully feel the negative energy and resentment existing on the boat. After Su Tianxian mentioned this, I really felt the strong yin qi and resentment on this first floor boat. The resentment, in particular, has become so intense that it is frightening. "Master, are you saying that the reason why a building ship sails is because of yin qi and resentment?" Su Tianxian was about to speak when he was interrupted by Yu Sun Tao on the side. "You're not too stupid. Dead things have no souls, but they will be given new life when affected by the yin qi and resentment. To put it simply, the building ship in front of you is affected by the yin qi and resentment of these evil ghosts on the ship. The influence has been assimilated by Li Gui's obsession. That's why the ship will sail along the planned route." It dawned on me. Unexpectedly, the yin qi and resentment is so strong that it can have an impact on dead and inanimate objects. This also explains what kind of ghost ship exists. Su Tianxian looked at Yu Sun Tao indifferently and said nothing. Yu Sun Tao shrugged and said, "I'm just explaining it to him, don't get him wrong. My apprentice, I will teach myself." Yu Sun Tao hugged Su Tianxian's jade arm affectionately and said softly, "Sister Tianxian, why are we talking about going out to see each other like that? What's yours is mine, and what's mine is yours. He is your apprentice, so of course he is too mine." Before she finished speaking, Yu Sun Tao closed her mouth, because a cold light flashed in Su Tianxian's eyes, and his aura suddenly dropped. Okay. Why don't you stop talking about it from now on?" I looked at Yu Sun Tao and Su Tianxian and couldn't help but shake my head and smile bitterly. However, I still have some curiosity about the relationship between the two people. Could it be that they are really sisters? At this moment, I suddenly heard a slight noise coming from the pavilion next to me. I was stunned for a moment, and my expression instantly became alert. There must be evil spirits on this ship. Instead of waiting for them to come and cause us trouble, we should take the initiative. I glanced at Su Tianxian, and Su Tianxian understood what I meant with just one glance. She nodded slightly at me. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanba. Chapter 869. After waiting for my master's support, I walked lightly and tiptoed to the cabin. I listened carefully to the movement in the cabin, and there were slight footsteps in the cabin. Just when I wanted to break in, I found blood-red spells painted on the door. I stared at the spell on the door, always feeling familiar, as if I had seen it somewhere before. I don't know what these mantras represent, but I just feel that the technique and style of drawing the mantras are very familiar. At this moment, I suddenly thought of why I was so familiar with these mantras. Because the drawing style and techniques of these mantras are exactly the same as those of my grandfather. My grandfather has good calligraphy and has his own style. Although I have never seen him draw talismans with my own eyes, I saw the magic circle he left behind at the ghost suppression tower last time. The incantations on the magic circle and the incantations on the door were written by one person. Grandpa has been here before? Seeing me dazed on the spot, Su Tianqian came to my side and asked softly, "What's wrong?" I pointed to the incantation on the door and said, These incantations seem to have been drawn by my grandfather." When Su Tianqian heard this, surprise flashed in her eyes. She looked at the talisman on the door and frowned. She said, "These spells have the effect of sealing away ghosts and calming souls. If these spells were really drawn by your grandfather, then there must be very powerful ghosts imprisoned here, and there must be more than one." I nodded and went to other cabins. Not surprisingly, other wooden cabins also have this blood-red spell on them. And I also discovered that not only the cabin, but also the windows of the ancient building were sealed with talismans. "Master, do we still want to go in and take a look?" Su Tianqian shook his head and replied, "There is no need to cause trouble. There are things in these ancient mantra buildings that cannot escape, and what we have to do is to go to Penglai Immortal Island as soon as possible and destroy the evil core." I nodded. Su Tianqian was right. There are fierce ghosts sealed in the ancient building of Luchuan, but they can't get out as long as Grandpa's talismans and spells are there. If it could have come out, it would have come out long ago. However, I am still a little curious. I'm curious about why Grandpa sealed those evil ghosts in the ancient building. I'm also curious about why Grandpa came to Penglai Immortal Island. Before, I could only learn about my grandfather's past from other people's mouths. But I don't know much about it. Now, I finally came to the place where my grandfather once came. Maybe this trip to Penglai will let me know many things that I didn't know before. Since we couldn't enter the cabin, we just stood on the deck waiting for the ship to sail. "Master," I looked at Su Tianqian and asked, "Have you ever been here before?" Su Tianqian shook his head slightly and said, "I haven't been here before, but I feel very familiar with everything here. I've never been here, but I'm very familiar with this place. Isn't that just like me? I feel familiar with some people and some things. Hua Xiu is like this, but she and I have never met before. There is only one reason for this situation, and that is past and present lives." Su Tianqian and I did not continue to explore this issue. I asked Yu Sun Tao, who was standing aside, "Master, what is your relationship with her?" Su Tianqian opened her beautiful eyes and asked, "You want to know?" Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanba. Chapter 870. I nodded. Su Tianqian lowered his eyes, as if lost in memories, and raised his head after a while and said, "I met her when I was a child wandering around, and then under your grandfather's recommendation, we joined Longhu Mountain, and then we got along for a while. She quit Longhu Mountain and joined the Taoist section." Wandering as a child? I have some doubts in my heart. What happened to my master? I really want to know, but I feel like Su Tianqian wouldn't tell me even if I asked. The only thing I know now is that Su Tianqian was an orphan since he was a child. I am helpless in this huge world. It's hard to imagine how a little girl spent those lonely days and nights. Moreover, it is impossible to get close to people with my master's personality. In other words, my master has lived alone since childhood. Thinking of this, I felt a little sorry for her. Everyone can be glamorous, but who knows the bitterness behind it? This also strengthened my determination to protect her. No matter what happens in the future, she and I will never be separated, even if the separation is temporary. At this moment, the huge building ship suddenly began to move slowly and change direction. This scene amazed me. Such a huge building ship can actually turn around without anyone driving it. If it hadn't been for the way Yu Suntao explained the existence of the building boat to me before, I might have been even more surprised. The building boat sailed slowly on the sea, riding the wind and waves. The weak sea breeze brushed my cheek, making my bored heart slowly calm down. Su Tianqian had been standing by the boat with her beautiful eyes open, staring at the dark sea bottom. I know that she is looking for the whereabouts of the immortal monument. Looking for a fairy monument in the endless sea is equivalent to looking for a stone in the sea. However, I also believe in my master's ability, so finding an immortal tablet is no problem. I don't know how long I have been sailing on the sea, but a heavy fog suddenly appeared on the sea. The thick white mist flowed slowly on the water, just like a fairyland, shining with a little crystal light under the moonlight. At this moment, Su Tianqian suddenly made a secret with both hands, and a powerful aura spread from her body. This awe-inspiring aura actually suppressed the negative energy and resentment on the building's boat. The silence of the yin qi and evil spirits was accompanied by the stop of sailing of the building and the ship. Su Tianqian stretched out his green-white jade hand and drew a talisman out of thin air. An unknown talisman was completed and then slowly submerged into the sea. The talisman was swallowed by the sea water and lost its original brilliance. About 3 minutes later, a golden light suddenly lit up on the dark sea. Su Tianqian turned around and waved to me. When I came to her, Su Tianqian pointed to the golden color in the water and said, "Did you see that golden light?" I nodded, "I see. That's where the immortal monument is. You and I will go into the water together later to carve out the things recorded on the immortal monument." I shook my head and replied, "Master, just leave this matter to me. I can just get into the water myself." Su Tianxuan's lips parted slightly, and I knew what she was going to say. I waved my hands and said, "Master, I won't bother you with such small things. Night is no better than during the day, and the sea water is freezing cold. If you catch a cold and get sick, it will be bad." Yu Suntao came up to me at some point and said angrily, "Hey, Sister Tianqian, I didn't expect that your little apprentice cares about you so much.